Alec Baldwin settles lawsuit with Helena Hutchins' family Rust to resume filming. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Pometto, Joe the lawyer. Today, I'm going to take a look at this article and talk about the ramifications of the Alec Baldwin settlement. What does it mean for his criminal charges? What does it mean for him going forward? And then we're going to ponder a bit of a more a deeper philosophical question, which we will get to once we jump into the article. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Joe Pometto, Joe the lawyer. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Anything you can do to support the show helps me grow. I know I haven't been making as many videos lately. I apologize for that. Just been extremely busy with my law firm. However, I do appreciate everybody who is tuning in, and I am going to try to make content on a daily or semi-daily basis. Okay, and I'm looking at this right now, and I'm drinking. Let's do the same time sip. I got this red Gatorade here, and it's making my tongue red. Okay. It tastes better when we sip together. Let's jump into this article. It's very interesting for multiple reasons, which I will explain as we go through it. And I hope everybody is familiar with what happened with Alec Baldwin while he was on the set of shooting the film Rust. He had a revolver gun. The trigger went off, and he shot one of the producers on the set of the film, and she died. Her name was Helena Hutchins. Alec Baldwin and the production company behind the troubled Western Rust have reached a settlement in the wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, who was fatally shot on the movie's set last fall. As part of the settlement announced Wednesday, her husband Matthew Hutchins will serve as an executive producer on the movie, which plans to resume production in January. He was a plaintiff in the suit along with the couple's 9-year-old son, Andros. And that brings up an interesting fact here is not all lawsuits are settled purely with money. Now, money is almost always the primary motivator and driving factor. But for instance, in employment lawsuits, if somebody was wrongfully terminated and you win the lawsuit or as part of the settlement, the plaintiff, the individual who was wronged, can get their job back, can enforce certain policy changes at the company. So you can have all kinds of creative ways of settling a lawsuit. I actually, I have a case where one of the clients wants a new refrigerator as part of the lawsuit. Okay. We have reached a settlement subject to court approval for a wrongful death case against the producers of Rust, including Alec Baldwin and Rust Movie Productions. Matthew Hutchins said in a statement provided to USA Today by his attorney, Brian Panish of Panish Shea Boyle Ravaputi LLP. I have no interest in engaging in recriminations or attribution of blame to the producers or Mr. Baldwin. All of us believe Helena's death was a terrible accident. I'm grateful that the producers and the entertainment community have come together to pay tribute to Helena's final work. I think it's a bit interesting that they're going to finish the film. I'm sure the only reason that they are going to do it is because Mr. Hutchins agreed to have it completed. I imagine it was part of the settlement offer to not complete the film, but it appears that he wanted it to be completed. So good for him. USA Today also obtained a statement from Baldwin's attorney Luke Nickus of Quinn Emanuel. Throughout the difficult process, everyone has maintained the specific desire to do what is best for Helena's son. We are grateful to everyone who contributed to the resolution of this tragic and painful situation. Rust Movie Productions, LLC, through its attorney Melina Spadone of Pillsbury, Winthrop, Shaw, Pittman, added, "We are pleased the parties came together to resolve this matter, which, subject to court approval, marks an important step forward in celebrating Helena's life and honoring her work. The terms of the settlement were not disclosed." Well, we can speculate on that a little bit, which we will do. The Santa Fe District Attorney's Office indicated the agreement would have no bearing on the criminal case. The proposed settlement announced in Matthew Hutchins' wrongful death case against Rust movie producers, including Alec Baldwin, in the death of Helena Hutchins will have no impact on District Attorney Mary Carmack Altweiss's ongoing investigation or her ultimate decision whether to file criminal charges in the case. Heather Brewer, a spokesperson for the DA's office, told USA Today in a settlement. Is that true? Is that the case? While civil suits are settled privately and often involve financial awards, criminal cases deal only in facts. If the facts and evidence warrant criminal charges under New Mexico law, then charges will be brought. No one is above the law. I think we can all agree that sometimes criminal cases, they do deal more directly with the facts, but political decisions can also be part of the decision-making process. The wrongful death civil suit was filed in February, months after Helena Hutchins' death on October 21st, 2021. During a rehearsal on the New Mexico set, Baldwin, a star and producer on the movie, drew a pop gun, pointed it toward Hutchins in the camera, and the gun discharged, firing a live bullet. We'll go down here for the rest of the summary. Those of us who were lucky enough to have spent time with Helena knew her to be exceedingly talented, kind, creative, and a source of incredible positive energy, said Rust director Joel Souza, who was also struck by the bullet that killed Hutchins. That's right, it hit him too. I only wish the world had gotten to know her under different circumstances, as it surely would have through her amazing work. In my own attempts to heal, any decision to return to finish directing the film could only make sense for me if it was done with the involvement of Matt and the Hutchins family. Though certainly bittersweet, I am pleased that together we will now complete what Helena and I started. My every effort on this film will be devoted to honoring Helena's legacy and making her proud. It is a privilege to see this through on her behalf. And those are very respectful and honorable words. In a June interview with USA Today, Baldwin's Rust co-star Jensen Ackles said he'd be pretty shocked if filming were to resume on the Western. I, in fact, was shocked also. Hutchins was doing something really exceptional, Ackles told USA Today. She was an incredible talent, and I wish there was some way to get it out there to the masses, but I don't know that that's possible. Well, perhaps the production of the movie will make that point to one degree or another. The police investigation into the shooting remains ongoing. Authorities have revealed little but did recently release 2 investigative reports, including the FBI's analysis of the prop gun that killed Helena Hutchins and the medical examiner's report, which deemed her death an accident. The FBI concluded that the gun could not have been fired without a pull of the trigger, which contradicts Baldwin's account of how he handled the weapon. In an interview with ABC News, Baldwin said he cocked the gun but didn't pull the trigger. In August, Deadline obtained a letter from the DA's office to the New Mexico Board of Finances requesting $635,000 to prosecute as many as 4 possible individuals with criminal and homicide charges related to the shooting, one of them being Baldwin. Baldwin's lawyer, Nickus, responded, it would be premature to discuss the case because the DA's office had not yet reviewed the file or deliberated about their charging decision. So anytime you have a wrongful death case, it creates an interesting and difficult quandary for all parties involved. And I'm talking about the plaintiff's family, the family of the person who died, the judge, the attorneys on both sides, and anybody else who has to testify or be involved in a case like that. Because what it sadly and tragically involves is using money to compensate someone for the loss of a life. And we all know that the loss of a life is invaluable in terms of money. It's invaluable in terms of money. And I worked in wrongful death litigation for a portion of my career where It was literally our job to place dollar values, both the plaintiff and the defendant. Is it $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $30 million? It's sad, but it is a very weird and strange reality that attorneys have to deal with. I can tell you, I did a lot of mesothelioma cases, which is a very brutal cancer which kills people very quickly. In the case, it could be $5 million, $10 million, $15 million. However, a lot of things go into it, right? Like the youth of the person. Now, the thing here is this was a highly publicized death. And so I imagine the dollar amount that was paid out to her husband was very large. We're dealing with Alec Baldwin. She was young. She was a mother. Alec Baldwin, I have no doubt, is a multi-millionaire. And the companies involved in the shooting probably have very, very deep pockets. So I imagine it was a significant sum of money. Now, what I wanted to talk about here was how this impacts the criminal case. How can a settlement like this impact a criminal case? Well, we're going to talk about politics, and we're going to talk about what happens in some lesser criminal cases. So oftentimes, what prosecutors do is they push forward the wishes of the victim. So for example, if you have a domestic assault, a simple assault, a fight, and the police arrest or charge everybody involved, what they're going to do is they're going to pull the person who was hurt, the person who was attacked aside, sit them down with some victims advocates, the prosecutors, the police officers, and they're going to say to the victims, do you want to go forward with this case? Do you want us to prosecute? And oftentimes, if the victim says no, the district attorney, based on that factor, may make a decision not to prosecute. Now, the district attorney's office here released a statement saying the settlement would not impact their decision. That's true, but it collaterally will impact it. It will not directly impact it. No prosecutor is going to decide not to bring a case on the basis of the case settling out of court alone. On the basis of that alone, not in a murder or where there's a grievous bodily injury involved or some sort of sexual abuse, a very bad crime. They might do that. They might do that on a smaller crime where the goal is just to get the money back for the wrong person. But here we're dealing with a human life. I believe what the prosecutor's office said was accurate, that the settlement alone would not impact their decision whether or not to prosecute. However, the fact that Ms. Hutchins' family has now been compensated and settled this case in a civil court may influence their desire to move forward with a criminal case. It may influence their desire to move forward with a criminal case. And as I was stating earlier, if the victims don't want to go forward with the case, the prosecution may in fact respect their wishes and not go forward. Now, what we have here is the death of someone. Someone has died. So it's going to be a bit of a deeper analysis for the prosecution. It's a very, very serious thing. So it's not as easy for them to just say, well, the victims don't want to do it, so we're not going to do it. However, understand, prosecutors' offices have a large, high degree of discretion as to whether or not they want to bring a case. Okay, they can decide to drop a case. They can decide to bring a case. So if they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. Another thing that a prosecutor can do is override the wishes of the victims. They can prosecute even if the victims don't want to. They can also choose not to prosecute where the victim does want to. So the district attorney here has a wide degree of discretion. Now, let me tell you the last factor here, and that's a political factor. It's political. And what do I mean by when I say political? You know, a lot of people use that word. How is it when you watch the news and they say, well, politics is affecting a person's decision, or they're playing politics. Well, what does that really mean? To me, it has one particular meaning. It means that the actors who are making the decisions are worried about how their decisions will look to the general public. They're worried about the perception of their decisions. And here, this was extremely high profile. Look here, I'm this attorney in Pittsburgh with this tiny YouTube channel talking about it. It's extremely high profile. So there's pressure on the prosecutor to bring a case. There is pressure for them to see that justice has been done, because a prosecutor does not want to be the ones who did not bring a case when they should have. That's always a tough pill to swallow. Additionally, a district attorney has to run for office. They're elected officials. So, do they want to run for office and have to deal with the backlash of not prosecuting a case like this, especially when it was extremely high profile? One more thing to take into account: the prosecutors, they can prosecute a case like this. If they lose, they're going to go to bed that night. If they win, they're going to go to bed that night. And they may feel better if they ran this through the system. If they ran this through the system, brought the charges, and lose at trial, than they would feel if they did not bring the case to begin with. So, there are a lot of interesting factors here. The political, you could call it media pressure of the district attorney, which is a political position. They have to win election. There's going to be a lot of pressure for them to actually bring charges. They want to be the ones who tried to prosecute this case, because the public may view this as something outrageous that occurred. Okay, but at the same time, you probably have a victim here, given what we just read, that does not want to move forward with criminal prosecution, that does not want to move forward with criminal prosecution. Now, it could be the case that they bring the prosecution and then offer sweetheart plea deals to the parties involved, but that's very tough to do when someone's died. As far as direct, like first-degree homicide, even if charges are brought, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be some sort of negligent or involuntary homicide, but that could still certainly result in jail or prison time for Alec Baldwin or other individuals involved here. I will say I've dealt with involuntary manslaughter cases myself, and was able to avoid jail time depending on the specific circumstances, or sometimes it's just a short period of jail time for my clients, which is, my job and my duty in that role. So I don't envy the prosecutor, the district attorney in this case. They have a very difficult decision to make. It's a high profile case, but when you become a DA, it can sometimes be 5 or 6 cases, a handful of cases that will define your term and that you will have to either use or contend with when you're running for re-election. So we will monitor this. I've been watching it the entire time. It looks like some charges may in fact be brought. And sort of like my predictions when it comes to sports. At first I said I thought he would be prosecuted. Then I said he thought he wouldn't. Now it looks like he will be. That's my current bet, which goes back to my first bet, so that if I'm right here, I'm going to take some credit, okay, for making a prediction. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer, here on this channel. We cover legal news. I share legal knowledge and legal experience with you. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a terrific night. All right, Joe Pometto, out.